by the power of Grayskull.
Hello, this is just like, I would say it's normally a quick review, but this is like 15 minutes long, so it's probably a longer the review I normally do for Kingdom Come Deliverance. I had it pre-ordered, I got it as soon as it came out. I literally was at the shop at fucking 9 o'clock in the morning waiting for them to open the door so I could get it, because I've waited for this for like, since I first heard about it. Which was about 2 years ago or something. I've been waiting ages for this, and so I went and got it straight away. And it's one of those games where the realism is a big part of the gameplay. So it literally is a role-playing game, an RPG. That's like the only way I can describe it. It's so realistic. Everything from getting hungry to not having enough sleep to if you get cut, you bleed out. If you don't see to it. If you drink too much alcohol, you become an alcoholic. There's so many little things about it which just make it that all more realistic. Some people might not like that, because I can see getting on people's tits where you've got to just keep having something to eat. You've got to keep going for something like to have a sleep and shit like that. It does your head in if you're not used to it, because you haven't like interrupt your gameplay to go off and get some sleep or find a bed, or like having to go and get some food and shit like that. But it doesn't bother me, because it's been a long time since we've had some sort of game, and it's set in the right kind of time, medieval shit. That's my favourite kind of like, I don't know, that's just my favourite time of history, when it was the medieval times, swords and arrows, before technology basically. But the graphics, we'll start on there. I think the graphics are amazing. They're really like realistic. I mean, I'll probably use that word a lot. They're really realistic. Like everything from the foliage to like the moonlight to the way the shadows flicker when you've got a torch. Even when you're zoomed in or like close up on people's faces like this, like the skin, like the pits in the skin and like the wrinkles under the eyes and stuff. So Warhorse Studios have really paid a lot of attention to like the major details of like people and stuff. I mean, it is a bit glitchy, I can't lie. There is sometimes it's glitchy as fuck, where you'll talk to somebody and then like you haven't got the option to talk to them again, or like even though it says talk, you're pressing the button and it just doesn't like acknowledge it. Or there's one instance, I think later on in the gameplay, where I had a fight with somebody and I knocked him out and I carried him back to his house. And then when he woke up, he just had totally forgot that we had even had a fight, and he was like, hey. And he was just greeting us as if we had just first met. So that kind of stuff. But that, I'm sure, will get ironed out with another patch. I mean, the first patch you get is massive. It's like 23 gig. So you've got to wait a while. I think it took 4 hours or something for it to download for me. But anyway, get back to the gameplay. This is like lock picking, because there is some parts of it that are really hard. Pickpocketing and lock picking, it's really hard. Basically, you've got to move your right stick until the circle goes yellow, and if you can find the sweet spot, that circle gets bigger and bigger. And then with your other analog stick, you've got to move around in a way it's anti-clockwise, whilst keeping the yellow circle in the same position all the way around. It's really tricky, like, so you find the yellow spot and then you have to move the other analog stick around whilst keeping the yellow dot in the same position. So I mean, that's how you do it, but it takes a few times to get used to. And when you first start the game, you're playing for about 2, 3, 4 hours before you even get to where I am now. In a different village, so you don't really get a chance to practice it. Plus, everything's really expensive. Like, you'll meet a trader and like with one lockpick is like 18 gold, like grosch or whatever the currency is. And then like you're selling things for like 1.5 grosch, like, or grosh or whatever the fucking currency is. I'll just call it gold. So you're selling it for like 1.5 gold or 2.5 gold, so it takes a lot of time, like a lot of items to get up to 18 just for one lockpick. And if you're shit at it, you could need 10 or 20 lockpicks. So it's not like Skyrim where you can just go and buy like 99 plus lockpicks and shit like that. This is another little tip and trick. if you go out and just come across plants, just start picking them up, harvest the plants, all the different types as well, because not only will you need it later on when you come to make potions and like be a herbalist and you start like, you know, brewing your own potions, because then you'll have some of the tricky ingredients like marigolds and poppies and all that shit, which you won't have to go out and then get. Plus on the plus side, if you keep collecting stuff, then it puts your stats up, so you'll get a better stat. Same as if you have fist fights, you get better strength and better agility, and you know. So it's like Skyrim. I mean, I'll probably compare it to Skyrim, even though Skyrim's nothing like this, but it's probably the most, like, it has the most in common with any game available that I can think of anyway for the PlayStation 4. And now for PC, there's other games, but I don't bother with that. I've only got a PS4. So, like I say, just go around picking stuff up and, you know, pickpocket people and try and get used to that. That's quite difficult, pickpocket. I think I've got some footage on that later on. I can't remember. But like I say, just go around, keep doing, like, picking up the plants and, you know, fighting people with your fists, because it'll be better in the long run, I think. Same as the speech. You know, the more you talk to people, and you've got to say the right thing. Like, this is the executioner, and I'm trying to tell him to give us this ring on a corpse, and then he was like, I fucked it up, I pressed the wrong thing, and it didn't convince him because I didn't have a good enough speech skill. So he's like, right, that's it, you're dead. And then I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to run away. And then when I turned around, he was following us, so I had to fight the cunt. And look at the top, underneath the compass, there's like two swords crossed over. That means you're in combat situation. You can't tend to your wounds, you can't eat any food, you can't change your clothing and put your armor on and stuff like that. So make sure you're well equipped and you're prepared before you start any fight and stuff, because you don't get the chance to do it later. But the fighting and the fist fighting and the fighting with the swords is like similar. It's the same kind of thing. You've got that 5-point directions where you have to, like, say, like, up, down, left, right, and then you've got your diagonals and shit. Plus you've got that dot in the middle, which is just like a straight jab with no direction. See how he's blocking. The buttons are quite complicated. You've got to hold L1 to block, plus you can hold the direction of the block to get a perfect block, or if you just hold L1, it'll just block it. But when you're learning how to fight, it tells you to, like, mix it up. Don't keep doing the same direction. Don't keep pressing forward and punch, forward and punch, forward and punch, because the AI knows that and they'll block you every time. So you have to, like, do a left punch and then a different direction. So you might want to go, like, straight ahead, then diagonal down, and you'll catch them off guard and you will connect with one of them. L2 is to do a kick like that. R1 is to do a quick punch, like a jab or a quick hook, and R2 is to do, like, a heavy hit, which is like a hook or like a punch. So you've got different options. It's like chess in a way. It's very tactical. It's not about just button bashing. If you think you can button bash it, then you'll get, like, beat up straight away and you'll end up dying. That's another thing. You can only save it when you drink some schnapps, some Saviour schnapps, which you can brew yourself when you learn the recipe, or you can buy it from taverns and shit like that, traders. But again, it's going to be expensive, and you've never got fuck all, because when you start the game, you're a peasant. Basically, you're like a blacksmith's son. Your dad's like an ex-soldier, so he can teach you how to fight with a sword, but he doesn't want you to. He wants you to, like, get a trade and a career instead of just being like a fighter. But like I say, I was lucky because I ended up sticking and moving. I ended up blocking. See, I haven't unlocked that where you grapple someone and you can grab them and knee them to the head like that. I haven't unlocked that yet, so I'm just flaying, like, punches left and right, trying to mix up my directions, remembering to block. See, I got a jab in there. But see the damage on his face. He's getting a shiner, and he's starting to get, like, a black eye, and he's starting to get, like, a bust lip. So the more you connect, you see the visual damage, which is good because you don't normally see that on games. And like Skyrim again, you can just move away, slash, 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 move away, slash, 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 and it's like sticking and moving. But it's shit, the fighting on Skyrim, whereas this is a lot more precise, and you have to think about what you're doing. You can't just button bash, like I said. You've got to you've got to think about it and plan your attacks. And if you want a tip, like, just don't get into any combat situations at all if you can help it, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to get beat up. And especially if they've got a sword, because I found until you get your swords, like your sword fighting skill up, or your strength, because you might need 4 strength to hold a mace, and when you start you've only got 2 strength, so you can't even swing the mace because it's too heavy for you. So even you might have a mace equipped, but when you come to fight, you'll just use your fists because you're not strong enough to start hiding the weapon about. And it's the same with swords and everything else. So make sure you get some fighting. And you see in the top left there, it tells you that you've, like, your strengths went up, and your fighting, your fist fighting, your unarmed combats went up, because you build your stats up. The more you do it action, like the more you do something, you'll get better at it. It's like real life. So you basically, so I was lucky to see when the screen turns blue, that means that you've ran out of stamina. So you have to be careful, because if you haven't got stamina, then the bloke can hit you and kill you with one hit. So and it's the same here when you pick up the body and like a fireman's carry over your shoulder, and if you look, the yellow bar is your stamina and the red is your health. That white section is because I've been beat up and I haven't had enough sleep or food, so like it reduces your overall health. So once you have a sleep, that white will go back to full red and full yellow. But just say, I've got to wait, stand still, get your breath back, and then you can walk again. It's the same. It's like I say, it's very realistic, this game. It's nothing like Skyrim. So the only similar thing to Skyrim is that it's like kind of medieval kind of thing, but there's no magic, there's no dragons, there's no like none of that shit. So you just have to be patient, because when I first, like I say, I pre-ordered it, I paid 45 quid for it, I got it on the day it came out, and after playing for the first hour and a half, I was thinking, this is too hard, I'm not sure if I like it. After I had been looking forward to it. They say that he got up, even though I just chinned him, he got up and he was like, hey, how can I help you, stranger? Or something like that. He just had forgot, so it's a bit glitchy. Here's another thing, if you look in your codex, and have a look and just refresh yourself on all the buttons and all the thingy, like just take 5-10 minutes at the beginning, get your fucking inventory out and that, and just have a look through it, read through everything, anything you're not sure on, just have a little read. It is a bit overwhelming, the amount of text. I mean, don't read anything you don't need to read. If you discover a bakery and then it gives you like about 3 paragraphs on what it is, a baker in the medieval times, you don't really know that. But when it comes to like things about talking to people or lock picking or anything you're not sure on about the about the gameplay mechanics, then obviously read up on that. This is another thing, you have to go to sleep and get your energy left, and the amount of hours that you pick to sleep, it tells you on like how much nourishment, how much strength, how comfy the bed is. But you can get perks where because you're brought up as like a peasant, so the more uncomfortable the bed, the better night's sleep you get, and vice versa. So if it's comfy, really comfy bed, then you won't get a good night's sleep because you're used to sleeping on the floor and stuff like that. So you can upgrade your perks, and you can get little buffs and stuff which come in really handy. Another thing, because there's no electricity, it's fucking pitch black if you don't have a torch. Like, you literally can't see anything, the screen is just black. So you have to have a torch in order to see where you're going on a night time, which is a nice little touch, because it would be like that if you haven't got electricity and street lights and all that shit. You don't realize the ambient light just when you're walking about. But if there was no electricity, it would be absolutely like pitch black. So it's one of those things where you have to get used to it. Also, this is another thing, talk to everybody you come across. Or obviously, if there's 5 guards, you don't have to go and talk to them all. But if you come across like a random guy fishing, or you come across somebody who's like like who's got a job or who's working in the village, make sure you talk to them, because you can get them to tell you stuff, and you'll find out more information, which opens up more speech patterns when you're talking to people. So that's it basically. If you like the look of the game, then definitely go and get it, but you have to give it time, be patient, because it's rock solid, but it's rewarding when you pull it off. And like I say, it's very realistic, so I like it, mate. So that's it, go and get it. See you later.